Cubs were off on Sunday. What a weird schedule with two games against the White Sox, an off day. And that gives the Cubs a couple of off days to reset pitching. We're going to talk about the rotation as they take on their old friend, the Cleveland Guardians, and where the Cubs are right now. A win away from 500. And all of a sudden, a schedule that's favorable and maybe a team that could catch fire at the right time. They're going to have to, but don't look now. The Cubs are still in it. And this could be a lot of fun. Thanks for hanging out with us on the Cubs Baseball channel. Let's get this thing going. What do you say, everybody? And thanks for hanging out. Recovered from the 999 challenge. Although, if you guys watched the live stream, I made it 5.5 dogs. 5.5 dogs. I think I had like 6 beers, but it was fun. And thanks for hanging out. Sorry the audio wasn't great, but it was kind of multitasking on there. But really still a fun night. Thanks for hanging out with us. Like and subscribe, thumbs up. I know I said it every time, but that's how we build the channel. We're trying to do that. You guys have made this, so we just hope that you'll continue to hang out with us. We're also on Twitter now, Instagram, TikTok, all that Cubs baseball channel. And we got a lot to talk about. Some good news. This team's finally starting to play some baseball. There's still that game in there against the Cardinals where, they just look like they didn't know how to win, and they run into each other and they lose that game. But besides that, I got to give these guys a lot of credit to bounce back, to beat the White Sox twice. The White Sox are terrible, but they play their best baseball against the Cubs, and they really did play 2 competitive games. But the Cubs hung in there and won. So now all of a sudden they've won 8 of 10 games, 4 or 5 series. And more importantly, I've said this and I believe it. You're not in it, even in the wild card, until you get to 500. That's just how it always been. And there they are, 59 and 60. You think about all the games that they've had and they've let slip away, they could easily, if they were just a little bit better at knowing how to win, be a team that was competing for the division with the Brewers. But, the good news is all of a sudden they're out of the basement. They're up to third. They're not far behind St. Louis. But what I really like is the way that this team's playing baseball right now. The record matters, but also the brand of baseball that you play matters. And to win in baseball, you've got to put together consecutive innings of solid baseball. It's almost like when a team's really great, it's just one good inning after the next. You don't always win, but you just play one good inning after the next. And they're starting to get contributions now from Dansby Swanson. And we've said it for the whole time. This is the guy that's paid to contribute. And when this guy does contribute at the plate, the Cubs win. When he doesn't, they lose. And he's starting to hit now. And that's been one of the key components to this Cubs success. And I wonder, how much of it is when they traded for Paredes, and now he's got him over at third, a good defender, Nico at second. Bushy's becoming a really good player. People are saying, hey, this guy, a little bit like Anthony Rizzo, the light bulb's coming on at first. Cubs might have gotten a steal in this trade. And, people were talking about this during the offseason before the trade was made. Hey, the Cubs need to go after this guy. The Cubs need to go after this guy. And they did. They went out and got him. And he's turning into a great first baseman, great hitter. Who knows what his career is going to look like. But you see what he did in the Pacific Coast League. You see what he did in the minor leagues. Now we're starting to see that at first base for the Cubs. Now, even more important is that the bottom of the lineup is contributing. Miguel Amaya, who I feel like is just not a very good player, actually starting to play better. And probably because the pressure's on. Jed Hoyer talking about the Cubs being active during the trade deadline, looking for a catcher. That's something that they're going to address in free agency. Problem is the Cubs, I've said this before, they just don't have options, a lot of them in the minor leagues. And if Amaya is the best of your, homegrown catchers, you're in trouble. Now, he had a huge hit against the White Sox, and every time you go out there, you have a chance to do something. Now, Christian Bethancourt has been probably the driving force of this because this guy's been amazing. I mean, he's been so good. He's looking at an opportunity here, and he's playing like his pants are on fire. And if you're a Maya, that puts competition. We say it all the time, competition breeds success. Good, honest competition. So those guys have been contributing. That's how you win 4 out of 5 series. That's how you win 8 out of 10 games. And then Hollywood Pete. The defense has been there. I think that the other positions have to adjust to Pete. It's not Pete adjusting to them. And I'm going to tell you guys why. He's special. He's special with the glove on. He's got all of the tools to be a perennial all-star outfielder. He's got the speed. He's got the quickness. He's got the anticipation. Watch his first steps, the reads that he takes, the routes that he takes for baseballs. So instead of Dansby, Nico, whoever is in the corners, Hap, and right now, Seiya Suzuki, you gotta those guys, instead of those guys saying like, hey, you need to do what we do, move over more, cheat, because this guy's gonna get you, he's gonna give you a step or two extra. And I think that that's something that you could take advantage of. It's not every day that you got a Willie Mays type guy playing defense for you. But watching him in the outfield make plays, run balls down, really is special. And he's starting to hit. He really is. His swing's gotten quieter. So I think that's a good sign for the Cubs as well. So it's exciting. I saw Bellinger. He's back. Didn't go on the IL. Just a couple days off, comes back. He goes yard. Going to need Bellinger to hit. I would love to see Bellinger get hot between now and the end of the season. And then there's a lot of people that kind of feel like, hey, if you want Bellinger to do well enough to opt out of the contract, because you've seen this year, you can win without him or you can lose without him. I mean, and so that $30 million could go another direction. Some of you guys are going to go, no, I'll take him back next year. I don't know at this point right now if I could put a wager down on if he stays or if he goes. I think that he's going to take the $30 million and come back, but we'll see. Right now is where it's time to do something, right? You're one game under 500. All of a sudden you're in the mix. You're 3 games back of the wild card. And that to me is really crazy because this streak has pushed the Cubs all the way up to 3 games back. So you got the Diamondbacks and the Padres, and I'm going to put this on the screen for you guys just so that we can kind of share this together. But you got the Diamondbacks who kind of did the same thing last year. They got kind of hot and then all of a sudden, made a run. You got them and the Padres, who could be a dangerous team as well, just because of the fact that they've had all these big time players. And now you look at them and they're a team that kind of reminds you of the Diamondbacks. What's going to happen if they get into the playoffs? The Braves are sliding. The Mets have played really good baseball, but they're starting to scuffle. I mean, the Braves are 3-7 in their last 10. The Mets are a game better than that. I'm not convinced that the Cardinals are any good, and I think the Giants stink. So look, there's the Cubs, and what you got to do is you got to get hot, you got to get back in the mix, and then you can't slide. So that's why this is so important. It's one thing to get there, but it's another thing to stay there. And right now, the Cubs still have a better than 90% chance not to make the playoffs. But this is going up as well. So you go into this series against Cleveland. You got your pitching lined up a little bit different than before. They skipped Kyle Hendricks. The rotation's good. You rest it. And you got a lot of momentum. And we'll see what happens. But the other thing, too, that helps the Cubs, and we talked about this on one of the prior shows, is that they have the easiest schedule in the NL remaining. So take advantage of that schedule. you got to go out there like you did against the White Sox and find a way to win games. And if you do that, you got a chance, right? So that's where we are right now. Cubs and Cleveland, 5:40 Central Time tonight. And you got Shota Imanaga, which is really exciting, back on the mound looking for win number 10 against Ben Lively. This is a good matchup right here. Two good pitchers. And what you got to like about Lively is the guy always he's factoring in decisions, which means he's throwing innings. 10-7 record, 3.59 ERA. Shota 9-2 and a 3.06 ERA. One of my biggest complaints about the Cubs is that when they face good pitching, the offense seems to go and hide. That if they're not hitting home runs, they have a tough time scoring. And I think that's something that Pete Crow-Armstrong helps out with, because he steals every base that he tries to steal. And so that means if he's on base, he's going to be in scoring position. I think that's something that the Cubs need to continue to try to figure out how they can score runs without hitting homers and manufacture scores and take advantage of the fact that they should be playing right now like there's nothing to lose on borrowed money. Go out there, do it, because no one expected them to be in this spot right now. It just felt like they were going to fall apart. They've blown and given away so many games this year, but you know what? They're playing solid baseball. They got a chance. But getting to 500 isn't the goal. It's making the playoffs. So that's why these games are important. But how sweet would it be to win this first game? And then tomorrow we're talking about the Cubs being 500. And you look at a team at 500, the whole landscape's different. And I don't know why one game under is different than 500. It just is. Trust me. All right. Last thing I want to get into, and I meant to do a video on this because I am such a believer in Cade Horton, but out for the season. And this is a major issue for the Cubs. He's, I think, their best overall prospect. He's ranked that way by several of the publications. Jed Hoyer and everyone in the front office has talked about him being a key cog in the rotation moving forward. And so for him to have a setback during rehab and deal with what they're calling a moderate strain in his right shoulder and not wanting to test this is obviously this is a setback, because I think that a lot of us felt like he was going to have a chance to pitch in the big leagues this season. So 2023 saw him a lot, 21 games, 4-4 record, 2.65 ERA. And the guy was awesome. The only reason that he didn't have more wins is that they didn't let him pitch a lot. And that's obviously, with someone that's got this type of talent, you just don't want to see them get hurt and then, obviously mess up what could be, a future star. I like the way that the Cubs have changed their philosophy on developing pitching in the minor leagues. They're letting a lot of the starters pitch more. They've got more experienced guys that they've signed free agent wise that are in the bullpen that are helping the young guys. It's a different philosophy. Kind of reminds me of what the Marlins, maybe Milwaukee's done in the past, and maybe that comes from Craig Counsell. But I think that it is a good move to have those starting pitchers. It was like for years, the Cubs starting pitchers in the minor leagues would throw 4 innings and be done, and then they'd burn up the bullpen. There's a lot of organizations that you'll see, like Atlanta, where a reliever pitches basically 1 inning, and that's it, getting them ready to make the next move. So he didn't go on the IL with the shoulder, but obviously in his rehab, that became an issue. They don't want to take a risk, and I get it. This guy's really good. I mean, he's a next level pitcher, the best pitching prospect that the Cubs have had probably in 15 or 20 years since Pryor and Wood, in my mind. And that's saying a lot. So it really does hurt the overall organization not to have him, but that's just the way that the cookie crumbles this year. You got to be careful with your top prospects. I'd tell you if I thought that it was a mistake. I don't. I think you. I'm not about everybody being in bubble wrap, as I call it, but this guy is special, and you just don't want to see him get hurt and then lose something that could be really valuable down the line. So maybe next year he comes to spring training fighting for a spot in the starting rotation. All right, guys. Again, thanks for hanging out. We'll do it again soon. Ant, he'll be back tomorrow. We'll keep on following this team, picking up some momentum. Thank you guys for making this channel part of your daily routine. It's been awesome meeting some of you guys, hearing from you on the message boards, but I can't tell you enough how much it means to be able to share my Cubs fandom with you guys on this channel. Thank you for making the Cubs baseball channel a spot that you get your information from and hang out. Have a great day. Go Cubs.